It's the What Are You Driven By podcast, where we dive deep to see what motivates and drives our community's best leaders. Welcome back to the What Are You Driven By podcast, where we discover what drives our community's best leaders and how they engage their teams to achieve their potential. I'm your host, Diondra Filicetti, and the author of the book Engagement Economics, and a professional speaker and trainer. But more importantly, today I'm joined by a special guest. Today I'm joined by Princella Seymour, a nationally recognized expert on elder care solutions and an advocate for revolutionizing healthcare. Welcome, Princella.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited. I'm always on top of the world.
Me too. I'm so excited to have you here because this is a brand new industry to me to learn about. I want to have you introduce yourself to our listeners and to me so we can get to know who is Princella.
Okay. I'm Princella Lewis Seymour, but I carry basically both of them. I've been in the industry for 35 years now. All I know and do and eat and drink and sleep is the seniors. So it is a little different because you don't hear people blowing the whistle, I think, loud enough. As you said, it's a new industry for you. And it could be a very overlooked community, but a very, very important community. And so I have worked in the industry for, again, 35 years. I have owned Complete Elder Solutions for the past 18 years. I'm also an author on Everything You Need to Know About Me, which that book was birthed out of experiences from work as well as a personal experience. So I bring that in as part of what I want to offer the world and to prevent them and the audience from experiencing some of the things that we hear every day on a daily basis. So again, I eat, drink, and sleep seniors all day long. My husband just told me this morning, because he joined me on a podcast, and he's like, you get a lot of energy when you give out information. I say, yes, because I want people to know. I want people to know what is important about aging and elder care.
Wow, that's incredible. And I'm so excited to have someone so passionate about caring for others. And so I'd love to know, what is involved in your day-to-day?
So I am a wife. I'm a mother. So that starts first. Okay, so I start wifing around 7. I start mothering at around 8. So there's a lot of me in a day. I'm probably 5 people. Okay. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a business owner. I own Complete Elder Solutions. And even as the owner, I engage personally with a lot of our clients. I'm a coach. We have a program entitled the Insurance Program, and that program is to bring peace of mind and rest for those that are providing or caregiving. We help them navigate and make major decisions on a daily basis. Okay. I also sit on podcasts like yourself weekly as an educator. So I'm 5 people in one day, in many days: wife, mother, business owner, coach, and educator. I do try to give myself some time because, as leaders, we have to put our oxygen masks on first. So at about 6, I'll try to join the gym just to make sure that I am well taken care of, because let's face it, I solve problems all day long, rather it be in the house or rather it be to the many Americans that are calling on me on a daily basis for advice and help and just trying to survive and navigate the terrain of caregiving, because most of the time, most of us don't sign up to be a caregiver. It just sporadically happens, and it doesn't have a timetable. So you don't get to choose that on March the 3rd, you're going to become a caregiver like you can a parent. These things or these roles are thrown on people suddenly and without permission,
Mm-hmm.
and without permission on a daily basis. So
Yeah.
I hear it all the time. I didn't sign up. I didn't know this would entail, so much. I didn't know this would take so much of my time. So it comes without permission.
Yeah, you know what? And I can relate. Wow, I've never shared this publicly on my podcast, but I lost my dad to cancer. And in the year leading up to that, me and my mom were his caregivers. And it is the most exhausting and difficult thing. And although he wasn't quite elder, he didn't get there. It was still something that you're absolutely right. It's thrust upon you without permission, with no timeline, and you cannot prepare for it, and it just changes your entire day and your entire world.
It's an honor also. It is an honor to be a caregiver. It's how you want to shift your mind and the reality, because some of us were unexpected in the world, right? We'll say, our parents will say, I wasn't planning on having a baby. And so it was thrust upon us. So it's an honor.
That's
So
so
it's an honor to give back at that very moment. And it is overwhelming.
Yeah. I love that reframe because it really and truly is an honor to be that person in someone's most difficult or most dire time of need,
Mhm.
and to look after them and give them the care they need. That's so very true. And so to if this is you're living and breathing this world every single day, like your heart must be huge. And so, you mentioned that you've been in the industry for over 30 years. I think you said
Mhm.
35, in fact.
Mhm.
And so how did you get into this industry?
So for me, I think it was a birthright, meaning it was something that, I tell the story all the time. I am one of the few and most fortunate people in this entire world who wakes up on a daily basis and understand and know their purpose and happy about doing it. Because typically at my age, many adults don't know what they want to be when they grow up at my age either, let alone your age, right? So I have that privilege of knowing that. And that to me, that's amazing. That's awesome. I am not trying to put the puzzles together of my life and figure out what I want to do. Okay. Because I started, I would say, as long as I can remember myself, which was probably 10 years old, I would say 9, 10 years old, maybe younger. But in my little town in Hallandale, Florida, which is a small town, we were a village in the 70s. People were more trusted. And so I would be that person that those seniors could depend on to run to the corner store and buy some salt. Because back in the day, we went to our corner stores for salt, for ketchup, for cookies. I remember this one particular lady, she would always give me $1 to go get 100 cookies, because they were a penny at that time. Okay.
Oh,
A cookie was a penny. A cookie was a penny at that time. And then I make myself like 25 cents. She'd give me 25 cents. And that was a lot of money, back in the day. Or go and buy me some bread. So I was working for seniors before I was a teenager. And I would sit and just listen to them wash or help them fold clothes and earn money, not really doing it for that, but they would just give it to me. And I guess when I look back, I was kind of unique to them as well, because how many young people at that age are hanging around 70-year-old or 60, even if they were 50s, that was old for me. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I got into the industry innately. It just happened. So from high school, I went to be a CNA, with certified nurse's assistant. Then I decided I wanted to be a nurse. So now I'm doing the LPN course. And then I ventured out a little bit, honestly. I went through that phase briefly, and I decided I want to do hair. Where that came from, I have no idea. But I did, and I quickly realized that wasn't for me, and I got back into healthcare. And then I always worked in the healthcare industry, rather it be for insurance companies. And then my last job in corporate America was in nursing homes, rehab centers. So I did that for 14 years as a director of social services. And that's when I realized there was a gap for the independent agents like myself, for those that are in the community, that are professionals, that can help a family member navigate now that it's time for discharge, or you can't return home at all? How do you make the decisions? How do we make that transition? When is it time to make the transition? And I decided to hold my nose and jump, and I started Complete Elder Solutions. And that's been 18 years, you know, and going independently, hiring coaches, hiring case managers to help families one-on-one navigate the terrain of caregiving, learning about the resources. Sometimes we're on and it's just the caregiver's day. Sometimes we're just listening to what they have to say. What was the week like? You know, how did you deal with it? How did you handle it? Sometimes it's, did I handle it the right way? So it's again, it was very innate. I don't remember, I don't think it's something that I decided to go to school and figure out. Once I knew my purpose, I educated, and I, you know, obviously got my, received my master's degree in social work with a specialty in geriatrics and Alzheimer's disease, to with the focus.
You are incredibly accomplished, first of all, and like I have to give you your flowers and your kudos because that is incredible. On top of it being such a unique journey, like you figured out
It
your
is.
purpose very early on and then almost just gained more skills and education to enable you to fulfill that purpose better.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right. So many people spend so much time in trying to figure out their purpose, and that happens later in their life, maybe after they've gone to school and had careers and all those things, only to then pivot later on in life, whereas you were able to go deep over the course of your career. So that's incredible. And wow, I love how the stories of going to get cookies, 100 cookies for $1, and just doing those things and then recognizing, wow, this is something I'm truly passionate about, and here's something that I can do to help. So I'm interested as you began Complete Elder Care Solutions, how, like, as you're building your team, and you stepped into this leadership role. Actually, in fact, you had leadership roles before that, but what does that all mean to you when you stepped into that leadership role? How did you approach leadership?
For me, you know what? Here's the thing: leadership is defined as a team. So I always go in my staff meetings, and I always talk to family members, and I say, "Listen, X, Y, and Z does not work for me. They work with me." So I formulate. I'm strong as it relates to team driven, people driven. My staff is important to me. They're my family. You understand? What they feel and know matters. So I thrive on making sure that I show gratitude. I've got great staff retention. Nobody wants to leave. I've had moments where we've had different turns in the economy, and I say, we've got to lay off. We're in a shutdown. They're like, no, we will work for free. We're not going anywhere. So I have had the privilege of leading individuals like that, people that I can uh, reinvent or duplicate. That's the word. I am now duplicating myself and so many of my coaches. Like, you can do this too. We need an extension. We need to make sure that the world know about this and know about you. You have a gift. So I approach it every day as a team, and I also approach every day with the mindset of duplicating and not being afraid of anyone around me smarter than me, because I want you smarter than me at the table. I invite thinkers, and I always tell them, you wouldn't be here if you were not a thinker. You would not be here if you didn't have something to bring to all these hundreds and thousands of millions of families every day. And never try to be me, because you are unique in your own individuality. You just need to form your individuality and make the best of it.
I can sense why people would want to be around you. That inspiration that you just give off, and cultivating the people around you, their dreams, their passion, their purpose in service of a mission. it comes through very strong. And
Mhm.
that is so incredible. Though I think a lot of our listeners would want to know, how do I, if I have a team, maybe it's not an elder care, but I'm a leader, I've got a team, but how do I solve my retention problem? How do I keep people? In that case, if you're giving advice to another leader, with where you're sitting, you've got a great team, high retention. What advice would you give to a leader who doesn't necessarily have that?
Well, I always say great leadership starts with you. So if everybody's leaving and everybody's saying the same thing, then I would look at the top, and the top is me. If I need to, review my personality, if I need to look back and see what are my work ethics, okay? Because you've got to be the leader. Number one, you have to lead by example, right? And so I would look at myself first and be truthful and honest and listen to the feedback, listen to the concerns. You don't want to be the leader. If they want to go, fine, go. I can find someone else. You want some good, people do move on. I get it, especially the young generation. They're in for a couple of months and they're gone, a year, 2 years, and that's fine. Be okay with it. Be okay with that. That you can never change, because a resume will never tell you who they are, the character that they have. They'll only tell you what they've done. So listen out for that. So if you see it systematically in a resume where the person has been only at a job for 6 months or a year, and that's a repeat, expect that to happen with you also. You want to look at that resume carefully and see how long they have been on a job. And that's a red flag for me most of the time. How stable are they? Do they stay? Are they okay with change? You've got to also look at people that are okay with change when you're changing things in the organization, because we all have to make changes for growth, right? You want to look and make sure that you can handle people that are willing to grow with the change, because for any business to survive, you've got to be able to make changes when necessary, and you got to be innovative all the time. Innovative. And so if you've got a person that doesn't want to grow and they're stuck in one personality mode, then that may not be the person for you.
How do you figure that out? How do you determine if they're going to be okay with change?
Well, you don't know, because again, remember, a resume will tell you who the work experience, but you don't get to see the experience. And a lot of times it's how you as a leader convey that change. They don't like to feel threatened. You always have to bring in a board meeting, you always want to bring them to the table. Thinkers, you want to bring them and get their feedback. The worst thing I think you can do is wake up the next day, call a meeting and say, this is the way we're going to do it, because this is what I've been noticing. This is the trend. No, get their feedback and see if they agree with the change. Because sometimes as the leader, you don't have all the answers. That's why you have them there, because they have the answers. You understand? So I like to look at Oprah. Oprah's one of my mentors as well. She did not have a successful talk show without great producers. She was just a voice. She had the charisma, she had the personality, but everything moved around her producers. And she understood that and she knew that. So she valued and respected her producers. In return, they respected Oprah. And now we know the world as Oprah, the most successful talk show host ever. Nobody has ever come behind her to do what she's done.
Wow.
But what do you think that was? Those were the arms that were holding her up. She may have had a vision, but she brought it to the producers. And she listened to her producers also. So your staff is just as important as you are. If they are not, then you don't need them. If you don't respect your staff's opinions, voice, or suggestions, then you don't need them at the table. They're not a staff member.
That's such a good point. That's such a good point. So it's about involving them in the process and treating them as a valued voice.
You have to treat them almost as though they're part of the ownership. You ever heard of
Mhm.
profit sharing? Okay, so you have to treat them as though they're part of the owner. We own this as well. You got to give them buy-in, make them feel like they're buying in to a vision or to a product or to a service that they believe in. And if you've got that person, you've got a great person.
Yes. And I love what you mentioned earlier about also being okay with the fact that you can't change people's patterns. If there are people who are just going to come get some experience and move on, you have to be okay with that. That's just something that's natural, and that happens. But it's about finding the people, like you said, who are smarter than you, who are thinkers, who can add valuable contributions to the team, and then treating them like they're incredibly important, like their opinion matters, and then acting as if they're part owner.
Mm-hmm.
Simple mindset shift of looking at these people as if they partially own the company changes everything about how you treat them.
You have to respect them. Mm-hmm.
100%. Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's great advice for folks, and I think, if they're struggling with retention, that change may not happen overnight. It'll take time for people to kind of adjust to that new, if we're going to change things from this transactional relationship to now a collaborative relationship, that's going to take time to cultivate
Mm-hmm.
that relationship, and luckily you've built that, and you show up that way every single day.
With that, may I add, you can still create your boundaries.
Mhm.
Okay. Be okay with your boundaries so that they can respect you as the leader and you don't have to get into bed with them.
Mhm.
Okay. So, and they can still respect you. I create strong boundaries while everyone loves me. Nobody comes personally to my home in my home setting, and they're okay with that. I want to know how your children are doing. If they're ill, I personally get on the phone and say, "Hey, I heard you called off today. How is X, Y, and Z? How are they feeling?" They just feel that you care, and I do care.
Yeah.
I really do care. But again, it's okay as a leader to, even with that, they're family, but you can create your boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's an important caveat to that for sure. Throughout this journey that you've had and this wealth of experience, what would you say was the biggest challenge for you?
Well, I couldn't say all that without having challenged employees
Mhm.
and
I'm sure.
learning and knowing, right? So retention can be, now, though I've had great retention, all right? Great retention. I have no complaints about that. I would say I've been very blessed and very fortunate. But business in itself is people, because that's 80% of the budget. People, talent, making sure that they understand the vision and they're on board with the vision and willing to shift and move through the changes, move through the terrains. Today we're doing it this way. Now, our company calls for a lot of marketing, so marketers are here today and they're gone tomorrow. Again, I've been very fortunate with that as well, but also a challenge is visibility, letting people and communicating, making sure that the conversion, making sure that people understand exactly who and what Complete Other Solutions is. Because you got on and said yourself, never really heard of companies like that. So it's like the best kept secret. It's a silent gold mine. That is a challenge for us here at Complete Other Solutions.
Yeah, because it's the solution that you don't even know that you need, or that you don't even know is available to you when you're in that situation.
Exactly, exactly. Because nobody advertised. You have a couple of little, organizations online, but knowing that I can have my one-on-one coach. Because remember, we have a health coach, we have a financial coach, right? We have our attorney, but between all of those things, you don't have that reason of voice, because they actually will create a plan based on much of the advice that your care coach has suggested. So let me break that down to you. Financially, your mother may say, I want to live over here, but I have $500,000. How are you investing it? We would come together and say, she can live here for so many years with so many dollars.
Mm,
This is the projected increase, and this is what you have. No, this is not a reality as to where you want to live and where you don't want to live.
Yeah,
You
I think
understand?
that's so important because as you're planning for the next few years, there's so many things that you're not even sure might happen. There's so many variables, and so to have a team of people who are experts in all these different aspects is really important to help you make the best decision for this person that you love.
Hmm. Exactly. Absolutely.
Wow. So I wonder if you could look back on your journey, and especially your journey in leadership, were there specific lessons or turning points where you thought, okay, this was my approach, but it's not really working, so I'm going to pivot and change and grow in this way? Were there moments like that that you can think of?
Absolutely. And things are changing now currently. And so now we're realizing more of a need for that direct coaching, which is what we're shifting up in now. Directly coaching the actual caregiver. We one time our most of our services were driven by the actual client, but now we're driven by the caregiver.
Interesting. And what caused that shift or that realization of that shift?
Well, again, like I said, you got to shift with the time, right? The economy is changing. Much of the services that we offered that were client directed, some of those benefits are going away. We were huge in benefits. And so we can see the shifting. People are afraid. But one thing that will never go away is if you are honored or have the privilege, all of us at least one time will be a caregiver. So if your mom lived to 90, you're going to be a caregiver, whether you like it or not. If you live to 90 or 70 or 80, and if you have children, they're going to become a caregiver.
Mhm.
And some responsibility. And the caregiver, not so much the dressing and bathing. You can be a caregiver if you're the decision maker, if you're paying the bills and you're making sure all things are in place, you are a caregiver. All of us will have that privilege. We'll have the job. Now you can either accept the job or you can decline it, but that opportunity will come. So I realize it's an epidemic that we don't know about. We're not talking about caregiving is an epidemic. It will become because more and more we've got 10,000 baby boomers retiring in a day. So just let's talk about what's going to happen in the next 10 to 15 years from now. The world is going to turn where we may be overpopulated with seniors and not so much of the young adults.
I've heard that actually because the birth rate is low.
No, oh yeah, young people, you don't have 10 children anymore.
No.
You
Yeah,
may
yeah.
have one. Between that and getting married now, that's like a thing of the it's not even
Right.
popular anymore. Like I have stepchildren, I'm like, come on, when we're gonna, I want to go to a nice wedding or be a part of it, and it's just like TikTok.
Yeah, it's very true. Even,
Yeah,
it's more common to get married later, in your late 20s,
exactly.
early 30s,
Mhm.
maybe children, maybe not. And if you do, it's one or two generally.
Mhm.
Very true. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. There's going to be a huge shift in the
Mhm.
demographics, um,
Yeah.
and the breakdown of our population.
Exactly. You see, so um that's why I said I had to shift. I'm making the change because I'm looking at the numbers, I'm looking at the stats. And so as opposed to being more benefit driven, getting people benefits, you yourself may not need money or benefits, but sometimes you're just at a breakdown and you just need to come online and say, I need a reasonable voice right now.
Mhm.
I've got to make a decision. It's tough. How do I make that decision? Is it the time? You need that reason of voice to come back. And that's what we're passionate about right now. So just like you have your fitness coach, your health and wellness coach, we're just as important. Because guess what? When again, you're at the gym because again, you're trying to get that mental, you realize you're in burnout.
Yeah, so very true. So when making these big decisions in leadership, and I think this is a broader question that leaders are interested in, When it comes to making leadership decisions, is there specific information that you rely on or metrics that you're constantly tracking that help you measure the success of the business?
Yeah, you want to study your business, and you want to know. You don't want to just make a sporadic decision to make a shift without having piloted the program or piloting or have
Mm,
done your research, have your numbers, have your stats to back it up. Okay, because you don't want to hold your nose and jump and not know how deep you're jumping. If you're ready for it, do you have staff ready for the change? Are you financially ready to make the shift? Rather, it's going to cost the company to increase in sales or stay the same, or will this decline? How
mhm.
would the change affect everything that I'm doing?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So making sure that you're thinking through future plans very thoroughly so that if
Mhm.
you do take a step forward, it was well thought out and you have the data and evidence to back it up. Absolutely. I love that. And so just shifting back to, your personal work, I know I saw your book, so everything you need to know about me. Can you tell us more about the process of writing that?
So that one, having worked 35 years with seniors, everything that you need to know about me is a journal. It's an informative book, and it was birthed based on hearing the hundreds and thousands of clients that call our office or potential clients have no clue about the person that they are getting ready to care for. And then on a more personal note, I actually this was actually written for the most part during the time that I was caring for my 56-year old, at the time, 56-year-old sister, who was just doing a friend a favor, sitting in a car and was brutally gunned down, ended up on life support. I now had to turn around and give information that I didn't have. And we talked every day, like her insurance agent, login credentials, how do I pay her bills? When are they due? What was her wishes? I didn't have the definitive information. So I said, from that moment, this will never happen to me or anybody else that call this office. Number two, it prevents high cost legal fees, because if you don't have advanced directives, meaning your point or your set person as your power of attorney or healthcare surrogate, you will either be paying an attorney to do it now, which you need to have an attorney, obviously, to draft the documents. But if this person is incapacitated, then that same lawyer or attorney is going to be petitioning the courts for you to become a guardian. And that's thousands of dollars. So let's do it now with the purchase of this and filling it out. I have saved clients thousands of dollars and hours of heartaches just by the testimony of purchasing this, because everything, there's nothing left out. Everything you need to know to be in your journey for caregiving is right in that book.
Wow.
And it's something you want to do beforehand. Now the holidays are coming. These are happy moments, happy times. You want to gather around with your family members, your parents, your grandparents, and ask these information during soft times while there's not we're not in a moment where the things are happening and they're happening so fast, and it's, oh my God, I didn't realize this was going to happen. I didn't realize I didn't have this information. That's not the time to do it. This is the time now. Okay, during the times where they make great gifts, great holiday gifts, and make sure it's kept in a safe place, and you will thank me later, because you do not want to drive in crisis.
What a resource. And I think most of us can relate to those moments where you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have any of these answers. And to have
Mhm.
something that walks you through everything you need to know, I think is really important. So, for those of you listening, make sure you go grab the book. I can see that it's available on Amazon. It's called
Mhm.
Everything You Need to Know About Me by Princella Seymour, a step by step guide that offers valuable information for your loved ones. Incredible. So, Princella, this conversation has been so wonderful, and we've dipped into the personal side of everything that you've done and also the professional side of being a business owner. So, if you could put that all in one and give us a piece of advice from your experience, what would that piece of advice be?
But for personally, you want to make sure, again, I think I stated it early on, as a leader, make sure you have your oxygen mask on first. You are important. You are important before you can go out and give to anyone. You have to make sure that, again, you don't drown in the case of a crash or you don't fall apart. From a leadership perspective, know, respect, and love the people that are around you. Think of them as your team, as your partner, and I like to say part ownership, because without them, you don't grow. If they, your life depends on them as well. Because on good talent, your life depends on them. So putting all that together retrospectively, yourself and the people that matters the most around you, which is your team. And your team is a direct reflection of who you are.
That's such a great piece of advice, and it's so true. And it just made me think I wanted to know one more thing about the most rewarding parts of your journey. Do you remember, maybe it was a team member who you coached and you saw them grow to be incredibly successful, or, you inspired them in a way that they never thought possible? Can you think of those moments? Does anything come to mind, and what were they?
Mhm. During the pandemic, there was, again, remember I said I changed some of the product and service lines. So that particular product that I knew I was going to collapse or kind of like change or shift, should I say, that particular director, I said, it's time for you to go out now and make sure you implement everything that you've learned here. And so she started applying it for different leadership roles at a particular company. And they called me and I gave her the best, best reference ever. Okay. And so she'll still look back and I say, you have everything it takes to do what you're doing. So I will push them out also when I know that it's time and they're ready, and I'm okay. Now, nobody wants to lose a great staff member, but it's okay. You have to love beyond yourself and know that people. And I realized she had changed and she had needs herself that I couldn't meet, and it was the time. I've got another one just yesterday. She says it's time for me. I said, yes, it's time for you to learn this, and it's time for you to get some more training. I want you to soak me up because it's time to throw you out.
Wow. I
Yeah.
love what you said about love beyond yourself.
Mhm.
I think,
Love beyond yourself.
yeah, it's such a perfect tagline in my mind for you and everything that you do when it comes to leadership, when it comes to the industry that you're in, being a caregiver. It all requires loving beyond yourself. So if I could sum up this whole conversation and what I've learned from you, it really is that it it is loving beyond yourself, but also being okay with where you are and who you are, and growing yourself as a person, putting on that oxygen mask, and then being the person that other people want to be around and want to grow with. And I think those two things put together really give you that calm and composure as a leader, but also the resilience to make it through the difficult times. And I think that's what I've heard and that's what I've seen in you. And it's been so incredible to learn about your journey and more about the elder care solutions. It's so fascinating and so interesting, and it's had me look at a mirror to say, wow, this is something I truly didn't know about. My final question that I ask everyone on the podcast, we want to know, Princella, what drives you? What are you driven by?
I'm driven by my innate ability and my passion. So I don't give up and get up in the morning and do a job. I get up and live life on purpose. So purpose is what drives me. So I don't get up and know that there's a check, because remember, there's no check given to me. I have to earn my check, and it's earned through my purpose. And so if you provide a service, you become a solution, money just follows. You'll get a paycheck then.
I had to write that one down. What I heard was, earning your paycheck means becoming valuable, and the money just flows.
Solve a problem.
And that goes back to how you began in this industry, recognizing that there's a need here, right? These people need me to close this gap. And I think many business owners get into business because they see a gap, but yours was very much heart-centered and recognizing that these people need my help. And how do I, and not just my help, the help of my team and all the people that I'm bringing around me, the financial coach, the mental health coach, the fitness coach, all these people that contribute to making someone else's quality of life a little bit better. And there's so much pride in that work. So I have to say, on behalf of the younger generation who will become caregivers, I thank you so much for the work that you do, the resources that you're putting out into the world to make it a better place, and for our chat today.
I really did enjoy you.
Me too.
Call me anytime.
Absolutely. And for those of us who are listening today, where can our listeners find you?
That's a great question. So our website is CompleteOtherSolutions.com. Okay, you can go right there on the site. You can find all our tools, all the information that we have spoken about. Also, for me to speak, it's PrincellaSeymour.com. You can call our office toll free Monday through Friday, area code 833-404-8960. We are there to take your calls, your questions, help you. You can go online and sign up and become a member. Be a part of the assurance program. Get your coaching, get the help that you need right away. 50% of your anxiety will decrease right away.
Ooh, that's huge. This is the first time I've had a guest share a phone number, guys. So Princella is here to help you. So definitely give her a call. And if they want to connect on social media, since social media is huge.
Yes. CompleteOtherSolutions.com. Excuse me, not .com. On the IG, we're Complete Other Solutions. Facebook, Complete Other Solutions. TikTok, Complete Other Solutions. Okay. You can find us there. Yes.
All right. Okay. You heard it here. You know exactly where to find Princella if you're looking for her across all platforms, her website and her phone number. So I want to say, Princella, thank you so very much for joining us on the podcast today. And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the What Are You Driven By podcast. We hope that you'll join us next time for another incredible leadership story. So make sure you subscribe and connect with us online at Driven by Co.
Thank you again. Bye for now.